Hello everyone! So this is Halloween, another Halloween card series. I've already lost track of the number, but this is going to be a shaker card. And I'm just starting off with the card base, and it's a 5 by 6 inch card base. And that black sheet is just from a Halloween, well actually it was a variety pack from DCWV that had different seasons in it, so I just used that from the Halloween part of the stack. And I just inked around the edges with my We Are Memory Keepers Sweetheart inker. Here's a little frame that I cut out. I just used my paper trimmer to do that. And again, I'm inking around the edges. And that paper is the October Afternoon Witch Hazel paper pad, the 8x8 one. And here I'm adding some adhesive to the sides so I can have my acrylic sheet. And that acrylic sheet, I just got it from a spare sticker pack that I had, and it was an empty sheet, so I just repurposed it for this. And now I'm taking out my foam tape so I can give it some dimension, since I do want this to be a shaker card. And I've never done this type of shaker card, so I wasn't sure how much foam tape I needed to use. And luckily I remembered to stamp out these letters first, because I was about to put the foam tape on there, but that would have been really bad because I wanted to stamp on it first, and if I would have added that foam tape it would have made it really hard to stamp on afterwards. So I am going to stamp on that acrylic sheet, and I want to say Trick or Treat, and I'm using the Lawn Fawn Quinn's ABCs stamp set. And I'm also using my Fiskars stamp press, and that's great for positioning and being able to see where I'm going to stamp before actually stamping it down. And I used the Heidi Swapp Archival black ink, and I find that works pretty well on these slick surfaces. It doesn't smear, so I used it for that. And I just did the rest of the sentiment off camera because I just did the same thing I had done with the trick part of the sentiment, so I stamped out Trick or Treat. And now I'm adding the foam tape after I already stamped that out, and I'm using my Tim Holtz scissors to cut it out. And there you briefly saw that I spilled my enamel dots all over the place, so I had to pick those up. And I'm adding 2 layers of foam tape. I end up adding 3 layers because I thought it was going to be enough with 2 layers, but it ended up being too much. So you'll see in a second that I do put 3 layers. Here I'm adding the enamel dots that I they're the DIY ones, and I made those with some pony beads, just some regular pony beads. And then these tiny ones are mini perler beads. And I'm just scattering those around. I think they look like candy, so I thought they worked well with the card. And I'm putting some different ones in there, and now I'm taking off the little paper so it'll adhere onto my card. So there, I removed all the papers, and I wanted to add a few more enamel dots on there because it looked too empty. And looking at it now, I thought it looked full enough, so I pressed it down onto my card base, and I lined it up on my mat so I would be sure that it would come out straight. And I pressed it down, but then I looked at it and it looked pretty empty, so I lifted up the sheet and to add more of those enamel dots in there. So that was pretty easy to lift up and just stick those in there. And now I pressed it down, but it looked like there was too much dimension and the enamel dots were getting stuck one on top of the other. So off camera, I took off that 3rd layer of foam tape, and it only has 2 layers. But I did that off camera because it was kind of tedious, but that's what I did. And now I'm adding my little stamped images, and I also did these off camera because it was just simple coloring with my Spectrum Noirs, and those stamps are from the Lawn Fawn Critters in Costume stamp set. Here I'm adding some tiny star stickers, and I got these at the Dollar Tree, and it brings a ton of tiny little star stickers, and they're perfect for this type of card. And I had run those stamped images through my Xyron, so they're all sticky, so I don't have to worry about adding adhesive to those. And here I'm adding the little super owl and the broom, and I wanted to put that broom standing up, but it didn't give it enough space for the little kitty to be on that side as well. So I was just moving it around to see what I was going to do with it. So I just stuck the kitty right there, and then here's the bear dressed as a bee. And there at the top I put that little squirrel that's dressed as an angel. And the broom, I just put it horizontal there under the treat sentiment. And I have these tiny little candy stamps that I also stamped out, and that's from the same Lawn Fawn Critters and Costume stamp set. And I had already stamped those out and fussy cut those out. I also stamped out some little leaves, and you can see those up there, and I'm just adding some lines to the bottom. That's also from that same stamp set. And now I'm just cutting off the excess of the cat. It was just too long, and I was sure that it was going to break off. So I just cut off the excess. And now I'm filling out the trick or treat with some stickles, so it would stand out more. And here I'm using my lavender stickles for the trick part. And I'm just filling that in, and I left that for last because obviously I didn't want to smear it or mess it up. And for the middle, I believe these are the silver I can't talk today. The silver stickles, or platinum, one of the two. And then here's the orange stickles, and that I'm using it for the treat. So I just filled it in, and I also did off camera where I pressed the stickles to make sure that it would come out smoothly because I didn't want a big blob of stickles to get on my card. And here I'm just adding a few little dots with the stickles as well. So there it is, and there you can see that it shakes pretty well. And here's my final card. So hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching. Bye!